They say you never forget the moment your world shifts. For me, it was a Thursday night, 9:42 p.m. She came home late, again, said her phone had died again. There was this hint of something synthetic on her neck, like cologne that didn't belong to either of us. I asked her where she'd been, and she gave me that soft smile, the one people wear when they're lying gently. Just out with Maya, she said, kicking off her shoes like nothing inside her was unraveling. Maya, her co-worker, the human alibi she summoned whenever she didn't want questions. I nodded, pretending I hadn't noticed the new edge in her laugh, the way she was more alive lately, but never around me. She floated through the room like a woman newly awakened, eyes brighter, phone tighter in her grip, spirit oddly buoyant. At first I thought it was the yoga or the promotion. Then I thought maybe I was the problem. Then I found the messages. It started with a simple notification. Her phone lit up while she was in the shower. Normally, I'd never snoop. But suspicion is a cruel little whisper that grows louder the more you ignore it. I didn't even mean to look. I swear I didn't. But curiosity wears many masks, and that night it wore concern. The preview read, "Can't stop thinking about last night. When can we do that again?" It wasn't from Maya. It was from a man named Trent. No last name. Just Trent, with a profile picture that screamed Tinder swagger. Overconfident eyes, sculpted beard, backwards cap. He looked like every bad decision wrapped in cologne and ego. My stomach dropped through the floor. I didn't scream. Didn't barge into the bathroom with righteous fury. I just sat there, phone in hand, staring at the blinking dots of their conversation continuing in real time. He was still typing, still alive in her world. When she came out, towel wrapped around her like armor, she kissed me on the cheek and said, "Thanks for being patient with me lately. I know I've been all over the place." I nodded again, silent. Not because I didn't have words, because I had too many. That night, I lay awake next to her, listening to her breathe while replaying their messages in my head. Tinder. That's where she met him. She had written it in one of her early replies. Just here for fun. Not looking to replace anyone. And then, my husband's sweet. He's just safe. Safe. Like a seatbelt. Like a doormat. I didn't confront her that night. Or the next one. I started watching instead. Her patterns. Her absences. The way she always seemed a little too amused when she texted someone while making dinner. How she tucked her phone screen away when I walked past. There are 1,000 small betrayals before the big one lands. And when it landed, it shattered. It was a Saturday. She said she was going to a painting class downtown. Something new, something solo. I followed her. Not proud of it. Not proud of any of it. But I had to know. She never made it to any art studio. Instead, she met him. Trent. I watched from my car across the street as she hugged him like he was gravity. They went into a bar, then a hotel. And just like that, everything we'd built, the apartment, the shared playlist, the inside jokes, the promises made half drunk on our anniversary, it all went up in smoke behind the tinted windows of a Marriott. I didn't go inside. I didn't pound on the door. I went home, sat on the edge of our bed, and tried to remember what her love used to feel like when it wasn't a ghost. That night, she came home wearing different earrings than she left with. Said the class had been weird but fun. I looked at her for a long time, then asked the question I'd been holding like a grenade behind my teeth. "Are you seeing someone else?" She paused. That's how I knew. She didn't answer at first. Just blinked. Once. Twice. Like she hadn't heard me. Or like she was trying to figure out how to lie without making it worse. I waited. I didn't flinch. I didn't ask again. I just stared at her like I already knew because I did. Finally, she sighed. Not the kind of sigh people make when they're caught. It was heavier than that. It sounded like defeat. "It's not serious," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. Not serious. Like that was supposed to make it hurt less. Like the weight of betrayal depended on the depth of emotion behind it. As if cheating casually for fun was somehow more forgivable than falling in love. I just looked at her. I wanted to laugh. I wanted to scream. I wanted to ask 100 questions, and none at all. Instead, I said, "His name's Trent, right?" Her face crumpled. She didn't deny it. She didn't even ask how I knew. She just sank in the chair across from me, like her bones couldn't hold her anymore. "It was supposed to be harmless," she said. "It started as a joke. A stupid impulse. I downloaded the app just to see what was out there. I clenched my jaw. She continued. At first, I just swiped out of curiosity. It felt good being wanted. I didn't expect to actually meet anyone. And then Trent messaged me. He was funny, light, not complicated. I told him I wasn't looking for anything real. He didn't care. He said, let's just have fun. No pressure. I couldn't stop staring at her. This woman I had married, share a home with, planned futures with. She was talking like she had borrowed someone else's heart and misplaced it. So you met him? I asked. My voice didn't even sound like mine anymore. Yeah, she said. I needed something that felt different, something that wasn't us. And there it was, the gut punch. Not just the act, but the meaning behind it. It wasn't about him. It was about her, about what she thought she was missing, about how I had become wallpaper in my own marriage. How many times? I asked. Twice, she said. 3 times. I couldn't tell if she was lying or just couldn't keep track. Either way, it didn't matter. Once was enough to change everything. Do you love him? I asked. She shook her head too quickly. No. God, no. It's not like that. But it was something real enough to lie about, real enough to hide, real enough to shatter us. The silence that followed was the kind you feel in your throat. Thick, dry, heavy. I stood up, not even sure where I was going. She reached for my hand, and I pulled it back like her touch might burn. Please, she said, don't leave. Let's talk about this. I laughed, bitter and low. Now you want to talk? She said nothing, just looked at me with wet eyes and a trembling lip, like she was the one who'd been wounded. I went to the bedroom and closed the door, locked it, sat on the edge of the bed we used to share, and stared at the floor like it had answers. My phone buzzed. A message from her. Just one word. Sorry. I stared at it until the screen dimmed. Then I turned it off. I didn't cry that night. I didn't yell or throw things. I just laid down fully dressed, shoes still on, and stared at the ceiling for hours. At some point, I think I slept, but I didn't dream. I didn't have the strength to imagine anymore. The morning after felt surreal, like waking up inside someone else's life. The air was stale, the silence louder than anything she could have said. I didn't want to go out there. Didn't want to see her face or hear the sound of coffee being made like it was any other morning. But I did. I walked out, and there she was at the kitchen counter, barefoot, hair tied back, staring into a half-full mug like it could give her forgiveness. She looked up when she heard me. Can we talk? She asked, voice raw, like she'd been crying all night. I nodded, not because I wanted to, but because I needed to know what this version of us looked like now. We sat across from each other, the table suddenly feeling wider than it had any right to be. She started talking first. I don't know what I was thinking, she said. I think I wasn't thinking at all. It just felt good to be someone else for a while. Someone new. I nodded again, staring at the knot in the wood grain between us. Was I not enough? I asked, not with anger, just quiet confusion. It's not about enough, she said. You've always been good to me. Kind. Safe. You were everything I asked for. I just started wondering what I didn't ask for. That hurt more than anything. Because I had given her everything I had. Every vulnerable part of me. And she wanted what I wasn't. Did you think I wouldn't find out? I asked. Did you think I wouldn't feel it? She shook her head. I didn't think at all. It was selfish. Reckless. And I hate myself for it. I stood up. Not because I was angry, but because sitting still felt like drowning. I paced a little. She didn't stop me. And Trent, I asked, where does he fit into your regrets? She hesitated. I ended it last night, she said. Told him it was a mistake. That I was done. That I was going to tell you everything. I laughed once. Just one bitter note. So, I guess I should thank you for your honesty? She didn't respond. Her silence said more than any apology could. We didn't talk much after that. I left the apartment, drove aimlessly for hours, past the places we used to go on dates, the taco stand by the gas station, the park where we slow danced under a speaker and a moon. All of them felt haunted now. I ended up parked outside my brother's place. Called him. Didn't even say hello when he answered. Just, can I crash for a few days? He didn't ask questions. Just said yes. I went back, packed a duffel bag with what I needed, and left. She didn't try to stop me. Just stood in the doorway with arms folded like she was holding herself together. I don't expect you to forgive me, she said, but I hope you find peace. You deserve that. I didn't answer. I didn't have it in me. I just walked out. And that door, the one that had welcomed us home 100 times before, sounded different when it closed behind me. Colder, more final. And my brother's, the silence was different. Less sharp. I slept on the couch. Watched bad TV. Answered no calls. Ignored texts from her that started coming in every other day. Little things. Hope you're eating. I miss you. Please don't hate me. I didn't reply. I couldn't. She had opened a wound that didn't want stitches. It wanted time. Maybe space. Maybe something I hadn't figured out yet. One night, my brother handed me a beer and said, "You're going to talk about it or just let it kill you in silence?" I stared at the bottle, then finally said it out loud. She cheated on me. With some guy she met on Tinder. She said it was fun. He didn't say anything right away. Just nodded like he didn't want to make it worse. "You staying or going back?" he asked. "I don't know yet," I said. "I just know I can't pretend like it didn't happen." He patted my shoulder once. Then, "Don't." We sat in silence. The kind that doesn't hurt. The kind that makes room for pain to breathe. Days passed in a haze. I lost track of time, measuring life by the number of unopened texts and the number of hours I could sit without thinking about her. But she was everywhere. In the way the light hit the hardwood floors in the morning, in the songs I skipped on my playlist, in the toothpaste I accidentally packed, because it was ours. My brother didn't push. He gave me space, a place to crash, and quiet when I needed it. Every once in a while, he'd drop a truth bomb like, "You don't have to decide today, or you get to be angry." That's not weakness. But I could feel him watching me, like he was waiting for the moment I'd snap or crumble or both. I didn't. Not yet. One morning, I woke up to another text from her. Just a picture. Our wedding photo. Us laughing under that tree with her lipstick smudged and my tie crooked. No caption. Just the image. Like it could say what she couldn't. I stared at it for a long time, then deleted it. That night, I dreamed about her. We were in the kitchen, laughing. She was wearing the hoodie she used to steal from me, the one with the hole in the sleeve. I said something stupid, and she snorted the way she always did when she laughed too hard. Then suddenly, in the dream, she looked at me and whispered, "You didn't see me," even when I was right here. I woke up in a cold sweat. The words kept echoing. I didn't see her. Had I missed something? Was this my fault too? I hated that part of me. The one that wanted to take responsibility for being betrayed. The one that kept wondering if I had hugged her enough, noticed her new haircut, asked the right questions when she got quiet. But cheating isn't an accident. It's a decision. And she made it. Over and over. I had to remind myself of that. I started journaling. Just scribbles at first. Then full thoughts. Anger. Grief. Memories I wasn't ready to let go of. I wrote about the first time we danced in our living room to no music. The way she used to trace circles on my back while we watched movies. The way she said, "Love you," like a reflex, fast and sure. I wrote about how I couldn't even hate her properly. How I wanted to. But every time I tried, I remembered the soft parts. The nights she held me when I couldn't sleep. The way she once defended me to her father, saying, "He makes me feel safe, and that matters." I wasn't sure what mattered anymore. One afternoon, I found myself parked outside our apartment again. I don't know what I was doing there. I didn't plan it. My hands just drove. Her car was there. I imagined her inside, pacing maybe, or crying, or scrolling through old photos like I was. I didn't go in. I didn't call. I just sat there and realized something simple and brutal. I missed her. Not just the version of her I married, but even this broken, flawed version. I miss being known. I miss the routine. I miss being someone's person. And yet, I couldn't shake the image of her with him. Trent, the Tinder stranger. The man who knew her body now. Who heard her laugh when it wasn't mine to hear. That stayed with me like a stain on the brain. I drove away. Again. That night, I got a voicemail. She sounded tired. Worn down. "I know you probably hate me. I don't blame you. I wanted you to know I started therapy. I need to understand why I did what I did. I owe you that. Even if you never talk to me again." I didn't delete it. I didn't respond. I just listened to it twice. The next morning, I called my job and asked for another week off. They said yes. I think they could hear it in my voice, that unraveling grief people don't know how to name. I made coffee in silence. I stared out the window. I kept writing. And for the first time since she told me, I didn't cry. Not because I was healing. Not yet. But because there was nothing left to spill. I started walking more. Not for exercise, not to clear my head, because let's be honest, it never really clears, but because movement felt like the only thing that kept me from sinking. I'd go for hours, no destination, no headphones, just me and the sound of gravel and concrete under my feet. I passed couples sometimes, holding hands, laughing about things that would never matter to me. I didn't hate them. I envied the simplicity, the ignorance, the trust. It's wild how fast that vanishes once it's broken. One afternoon, I ended up in front of this old bookstore. I hadn't been there in years. She used to love it. We once spent a whole Saturday flipping through vintage cookbooks and travel essays, pretending we'd take road trips we never got around to. I almost kept walking, but something pulled me in. The smell was the same. Paper and dust and time. I wandered for a while, ended up in the poetry section. My fingers brushed the spine of a book I knew she owned. She used to read from it when she couldn't sleep, whispering verses like lullabies. I flipped it open, and right there on the inside cover was a line she once underlined. There are people who take pieces of you with them when they go, and sometimes they don't even know they've left you hollow. I closed the book, bought it, didn't know why. Maybe to reclaim something, maybe to hurt myself a little more. Pain has a strange gravity. Back at my brother's place, I kept the book under my pillow, like it could anchor me somehow. That night, I had another dream. We were arguing this time, not yelling, just that slow, tired kind of fight you only have when two people are holding knives made of guilt. She kept saying, "I didn't mean to lose us," and I kept replying, "But you did." I woke up with those words stuck in my mouth. Couldn't get them out all day. That weekend, my brother left town for a wedding. Gave me the place to myself. I thought about drinking, getting blacked out, forgetting. But instead, I cleaned. Like deep cleaned. Scrubbed the kitchen, folded every towel, reorganized the fridge. Like maybe if I put enough things in order, the rest would follow. I found an old photo of us in my duffel bag. I don't remember packing it. She was sitting on my lap, summer dress and sunburned shoulders, smiling so wide I could barely see her eyes. I looked happy too. We both did. It felt like a photo of strangers. That night, I wrote her a letter. Not to send, just to say things I couldn't carry anymore. I told her I hated what she did, that she made me feel small, disposable, humiliated, that every time I pictured her with him, it felt like being gutted slowly. I also told her I loved her. Still, somehow, that even in the middle of this wreckage, there was a part of me that wanted to believe she wasn't lost forever. I didn't know what to do with that. The contradiction of wanting the person who broke you. I folded the letter, left it on the counter. Just sat with it, like maybe it would answer itself. Around midnight, she texted again. "Can we talk?" I stared at the screen. My thumb hovered. Then I typed, "Okay." She replied instantly. "Tomorrow." "Fine," I wrote. I stared at the message thread like it was a cliff I was about to walk off. My heart was pounding. Not because I was excited, because I was terrified. What if seeing her made it worse? What if I still wanted her? What if she cried and said all the right things and I caved, even though I swore I wouldn't? What if I saw her and felt nothing at all? That scared me too. To be that empty, that distant from someone I once couldn't imagine life without. I couldn't sleep that night. I just laid there, book under my pillow, heart split between memory and survival, that I met her at a little coffee shop on Elm, the one we used to go to before the world changed. I chose it because it was neutral, public, safe, a place with enough noise and people to keep us both from saying something we'd regret. I got there first, sat by the window. The barista recognized me, asked if I wanted the usual, and for a second, I almost said yes. Then I remembered I didn't have a usual anymore. Everything was unfamiliar now, including myself. I just nodded and took whatever she gave me. I sat down, holding the cup between my hands like it could warm more than just my skin. When she walked in, I felt it before I saw it. That shift in the air, the way the room seemed to pause just slightly. She looked tired, smaller somehow, hair pulled back in a way that said she hadn't slept. No makeup, no earrings, just her stripped down. She spotted me, hesitated for half a second, then walked over. "Hey," she said softly. I nodded. She sat. We stared at each other. Like strangers, try to remember why they were sitting across from someone who once knew every secret. "Thanks for coming," she said. "Wasn't sure you would." I shrugged. Wasn't sure either. Silence again. She fiddled with her sleeve. I sipped my coffee, then set it down. "So talk," I said. "I'm here." She took a breath. "I've been going to therapy. Twice a week. Not just for this, for me. For things I've ignored for a long time. Patterns I didn't see. Or I didn't want to. I didn't say anything. Just watched her." She looked down. "I know I can't undo it. What I did. I broke something in you. In us. And I don't expect you to forgive me. But I need you to know it wasn't about him. Not really. It wasn't love. It wasn't even lust, not in the way you think. It was emptiness. Mine. And instead of facing it, I tried to distract it. Fill it. With someone who didn't know me. Who didn't expect anything real." Her voice cracked on that last word. Real. Like she just remembered what it used to mean. "So why not talk to me?" I asked. My voice came out sharper than I intended. "Why not tell me you felt like that?" She looked at me, eyes wet. "Because I didn't want to hurt you. And I didn't want to hear what you might say if I told you I was unhappy." I shook my head slowly. "And instead you did the one thing that guarantees we'll never be the same." She nodded. "I know. It was cowardly." I wanted to yell. To ask her how many messages it took before she agreed to meet him. What she wore. Whether she told him the same stupid jokes she told me. But none of it would fix anything. None of it would make me feel whole. So I said nothing. Just sat there, swallowing the lump in my throat. "I miss you," she whispered. "Every day. I see you in everything. The way the light comes through the blinds. The stupid cereal you always bought. Your toothbrush is still in the holder. I can't bring myself to move it." I looked away. The pain was in her voice, but it didn't change the facts. "You broke trust," I said. "Not just between us, but in me. You made me doubt my own instincts, my own worth. You made me question if love is ever really enough." Her face crumpled. "I know. Do you?" I asked. "Because you didn't just lie. You chose someone else. Over me. Over us." She wiped her eyes, then looked up. "I chose numbness. Not him. And I lost everything." That landed heavier than I expected. I watched her closely. "Why did you meet me today?" I asked. "Is this a goodbye? Or are you trying to fix it?" She exhaled. "I don't know if it's fixable, but I had to try. I can't live with myself if I don't try." I leaned back in the chair. The noise of the cafe faded for a second. I thought about everything. The pain. The good. The stupid inside jokes. The trust shattered like glass on tile. "I don't know if I can come back," I said. "Not because I don't love you, but because I don't know if I'll ever look at you and not see him." She nodded slowly, tears sliding down now. "I get it. I do. And even if I do come back," I said, "we're not going back to what we were. That version of us died the second you walked into that hotel room. Then maybe," she said quietly, "we build something new, if you want to. One day. Not now, but maybe one day." That word, maybe, it hung in the air between us like a fragile balloon. I stared at her. Not the woman who cheated. Not the liar. The human. The broken, flawed, scared version of her who made a mess and was now trying to crawl out of it. I didn't forgive her, but I didn't hate her either. I wasn't sure what that meant. Maybe nothing. Maybe everything. We sat in silence a little longer. Then I stood. She did too. No hug. No promises. Just a nod. She reached into her bag, pulled something out, and slid it across the table. A photo. The one from our wedding. She had written something on the back. "If we ever find our way again, let it be with eyes wide open." I nodded, picked it up, and left. I didn't look back. I didn't need to doubt I moved back into our apartment a few weeks later, but not because everything was okay. It wasn't forgiveness. It wasn't reconciliation. It was logistics. It was exhaustion. It was the simple fact that I needed somewhere to exist that wasn't someone else's couch, surrounded by sympathy I didn't know what to do with. When I walked through the door, the air was thick with memory. Same couch, same kitchen chairs, same scent of lavender and lemon from the candles she always lit after cleaning. Everything looked the same, but nothing felt the same. She wasn't there. She had gone to stay with her sister for a while. We agreed on that. Space. Distance. A chance to breathe without constantly triggering each other's wounds. I dropped my bags in the hall and stood in the living room like I was in a museum of a life I used to live. There were pictures still on the walls. Us in Portland, soaked from rain and laughing. Her in a sundress in a sunflower field. Our anniversary dinner, candles between us and wine glasses raised. I couldn't look at them for long. I opened drawers, found little notes we used to leave each other. Grocery lists scribbled with hearts. Receipts from restaurants we called our spots. In the back of one drawer, I found a birthday card I'd never seen before. She must have bought it, but never gave it to me. Inside she'd written, "Another year with you is still not enough. I'd choose you again in every lifetime." I held it like it was fragile, like it might shatter if I read it too long. I put it back. Couldn't tell if it made things better or worse. That night, I slept on the couch. Not because the bed wasn't made, but because it felt like lying in a grave. I left her side of the bed untouched. Pillows still fluffed. Her book on the nightstand open to the same page. She hadn't touched it since. Or maybe she had and placed it back exactly as it was. I didn't know. The first few nights were silent. Just me, the buzz of the fridge, and the hum of thoughts that wouldn't let me rest. I tried to distract myself, cleaned the entire apartment, reorganized drawers, cooked meals I barely ate, played songs that used to make me feel things, then skipped them when they hurt too much. I opened Tinder one night, just a look, just to see what she'd been chasing. I swiped once, twice, then closed the app and deleted it. It felt like swallowing poison out of curiosity. I wasn't ready to be seen by strangers when I still couldn't look at myself. Therapy helped. A little. I found someone who listened without judgment, who didn't try to fix me with platitudes. She told me something I wrote down on my phone. Sometimes the betrayal isn't just what someone did to you, but what they made you doubt in yourself. That line stuck, because I wasn't just grieving her. I was grieving the version of me who used to feel safe, secure, sure. That guy was gone. One night she called. Not to talk about us. Just to talk. Her voice sounded different. Lower, slower. Like something had settled in her. Maybe guilt. Maybe growth. Maybe both. We talked about music. About how she started painting again. About how she missed the sound of my laugh. I didn't laugh, but I listened. After that we talked more often. Sometimes by text. Sometimes by phone. Nothing romantic. Nothing that hinted at fixing us. Just two people floating in the wreckage, occasionally calling out to make sure the other was still breathing. Then one evening, she came by to get some clothes. I told her I'd leave so she could take her time, but she said it's okay. I'd rather see you. So I stayed. She walked through the door slowly, eyes scanning the room like it might explode. I watched her take it in. The clean counters, the folded laundry, the missing photos. I'd taken a few down. Her eyes landed on the empty hooks. She said nothing, just nodded. We sat on the couch, not touching, not facing each other, just there. Almost didn't come, she said after a while. But I'm glad I did. I didn't respond. I don't expect anything from you, she continued. I don't even know if I deserve anything. I just want to be honest now. About everything, even the ugly stuff. I finally looked at her. Why? I asked. What's the point of honesty after betrayal? She took a deep breath. Because lies rot things. And if there's any piece of us that's still alive, it deserves truth. Even if it never becomes anything again. I nodded slowly. That's the first thing you've said that makes sense in a long time. We sat in silence again. This time it felt different. Not empty. Not hostile. Just quiet. Like a field after a fire. Ash still hanging in the air, but somewhere underneath, the soil beginning to breathe again. She gathered her things. A bag, some clothes, her painting supplies. As she reached the door, she turned back. Do you think we'll ever be okay? I didn't have an answer, but I said what I knew. We're not enemies. That's a start. She nodded, and then she was gone again. The door clicked shut, but it didn't feel like the end. It felt like a comma, not a period. Time doesn't heal anything. That's the lie we're told, so we can pretend waiting is enough. Time doesn't heal. It creates distance. Space between the wound and the present. And in that space, you either learn how to breathe again, or you bleed slower. I bled for a while. Quietly. Functionally. I went back to work. I nodded through meetings. I smiled when people asked how I was doing and said things like better or getting there, even when I still couldn't listen to certain songs or walk past the hotel on 6th Street without feeling my stomach twist. I started running again. Not far, not fast, but enough to feel the burn in my legs and remind myself I was still alive. I stopped sleeping on a couch. The bed didn't feel like a grave anymore. It was just a bed. Mine now, and hers once. I changed the sheets, threw out the pillows we used to joke about fighting over, put up new art in the bedroom, abstract, cold, beautiful in a way that made no emotional demands. I kept her painting supplies in a box in the closet. I didn't throw them away. Didn't know why. Maybe I was waiting to forget they were there. Maybe I was hoping I wouldn't. She still called sometimes, or texted. Not often, but enough to remind me she was real, and so was what we had. The conversations were different now. Softer. No weight. No expectation. Just two people drifting in parallel. We didn't talk about us. Not directly. Sometimes we danced near it. Like the time she said, I drove past that place in the canyon, where we used to hike. The tree with the carvings still there. Or when she sent me a picture of a meal we once tried to cook and ruin together. Tried it again. Still terrible. But mostly we talked like people who knew too much about each other to ever be strangers, and not enough to still be lovers. And maybe that's what we were now. Something unnamed. Something in between. I saw her once, months later. Randomly. At the farmer's market downtown. She was with her sister. I was alone, holding a bag of oranges and a loaf of sourdough. We made eye contact. She smiled, tentative. I nodded. She started walking over. And for a second, I wanted to run, because my chest felt like it couldn't hold the weight of her face in daylight. But I stayed. She stopped in front of me, looking like spring and apology wrapped into a person. Hey, she said. Hi, I replied. You look good, she said. So do you. We stood there, two people who had shared 1,000 mornings and survived 1,000 nights apart. How's your sister? I asked. Annoying, she said, smiling. But good. That's her job, right? She laughed, and it hit me in the gut. That sound. That damn sound. She caught her breath. Do you want to grab a coffee? And there it was. A door. A possibility. A question with no pressure, but all the history in the world behind it. I thought about it. Thought about the weight of old memories. Thought about the therapy sessions. About the dreams. The silences. The way healing had come not in big, cinematic waves, but in slow, relentless droplets that wore down the stone of my grief, one quiet moment at a time. I looked at her, really looked, and I realized something. I didn't hate her. Not anymore. I didn't ache the same way, either. The pain wasn't sharp now. It was dull, manageable, something I had carried long enough to stop fearing. But I also didn't need coffee. Not right then. Another time, I said gently. Her face didn't fall. She just nodded. Like she knew. Like she understood. Take care of yourself, she said. You too. And that was it. She walked away. I turned toward the fruit stand. Picked up an apple. Held it in my hand. Felt its weight. Its realness. I took it home, sliced it, ate it standing at the counter. It tasted like nothing special. Just food. But I felt present. Fully. Completely. And for the first time in a long time, that was enough. That night, I sat down at my desk. Pulled out the letter I wrote her back in the beginning. The one I never sent. I unfolded it, read it slowly, then added one more line at the bottom. I'm still here. Just not where you left me. Then I folded it again and placed it in a drawer. Not to revisit. Not to relive. Just to remember. Because some scars don't ask to be hidden. They just ask to be understood. The world didn't look brighter the next day. But it didn't look dimmer either. It just looked real. And I could finally live in it again. Fully. On my own terms. Whatever came next, new love, no love, a long stretch of solitude. I wasn't afraid of it anymore. Because I had faced the worst kind of heartbreak. The kind that comes from someone you thought was safe. And I survived. Not as the same man. But as someone a little more careful, a little more honest, and a lot more unwilling to ever settle for a love that doesn't fight for you even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard. So if you're wondering what happens after betrayal, here's the truth. It doesn't end. It transforms. And if you let it, so do you.